The old mine had been abandoned for 300 years. Nobody remembered who had dug it or why they had left. The entrance was covered with dead vines and broken stones. Deep in the Black Rock Mountains, far from any human settlement, it waited in silence. Grickle was the first goblin to see the strange glow coming from the cave. He was hunting for rats when he noticed a faint blue light dancing on the rocks. His yellow eyes grew wide. His long ears twitched with excitement. He had never seen anything like it before. He ran back to his tribe as fast as his short legs could carry him. The Thornback tribe lived in a collection of dirty caves nearby. They were not a large tribe, only about 40 goblins, but they were clever and cruel. Their leader was a fat goblin named Borgash, who wore a crown made from animal bones. Grickle burst into the main cave, breathing hard. All the goblins turned to look at him. Some were eating. Others were fighting over shiny rocks. A few were sleeping in piles of old leaves. Borgash scratched his belly and stared at Grickle. He demanded to know why the small goblin was making so much noise. Grickle told him about the blue light in the old mine. He said it was magic, powerful magic. He could feel it in his bones. The tribe leader laughed at first. He thought Grickle was being foolish, but then the other goblins started whispering. They remembered the old stories about human treasures hidden in the mountains. The humans had left long ago, driven away by wars and plagues. But their wealth remained somewhere, waiting to be found. Borgash decided to investigate. He gathered 20 of his strongest warriors and marched toward the old mine. Grickle led the way, his heart beating with excitement. He imagined all the gold and gems they would find. He imagined becoming rich and powerful. The journey took half a day. When they finally reached the mine entrance, even Borgash felt a chill run down his spine. The blue light was stronger now. It pulsed like a heartbeat, calling to them from the darkness below. The goblins lit torches and entered the tunnel. The walls were smooth, carved by human hands centuries ago. Strange symbols were painted on the stone, but no goblin could read human writing. They ignored the warnings and pushed deeper into the earth. The tunnel twisted and turned for what seemed like forever. Some goblins wanted to go back, but Borgash threatened to kill anyone who showed cowardice. His greed was growing with every step. He could smell treasure. He could taste it. Finally, they reached a massive chamber at the heart of the mountain. The goblins stopped and stared in wonder. The room was filled with human artifacts unlike anything they had ever seen. Metal boxes covered with blinking lights sat on stone tables. Glass tubes held strange colored liquids. And in the center of the chamber stood a tall pillar made of pure crystal. The blue light was coming from the pillar. It swirled and danced inside the crystal like a living thing. The goblins felt its power washing over them. It made their skin tingle and their minds race with wild thoughts. Borgash walked toward the pillar with greedy eyes. He reached out his clawed hand to touch it. The moment his fingers made contact, the entire chamber came alive. The metal boxes started humming. Screens flickered with images and words. A voice spoke from hidden speakers, but it spoke in the human language, and no goblin understood. One of the warriors found a chest in the corner of the room. He broke it open and gasped. Inside were hundreds of gold coins, each one stamped with the face of a human king. More chests were discovered, filled with jewels, silver bars, and precious stones of every color. The goblins went mad with excitement. They forgot about the strange machines. They forgot about the glowing pillar. All they could see was wealth beyond their wildest dreams. They started grabbing everything they could carry, stuffing coins into their pockets and bags. But greed is a poison that spreads quickly. Grickle saw a beautiful red gem in the hand of another goblin. He wanted it for himself. Without thinking, he stabbed the other goblin in the back and took the gem. The wounded goblin screamed and fell to the ground. This was the spark that started the fire. Other goblins saw what happened and decided to take what they wanted by force. Fighting broke out across the chamber. Knives flashed in the blue light. Blood splattered on the gold coins. Screams echoed off the stone walls. Borgash tried to restore order, but his warriors were too consumed by greed to listen. Even his most loyal followers turned against each other. The tribe leader drew his own blade and started cutting down anyone who got too close to his pile of treasure. In the chaos, nobody noticed the crystal pillar growing brighter. Nobody saw the warning messages flashing on the screens. Nobody heard the countdown that had begun when Borgash first touched the pillar. The humans who built this place had been clever. They knew that someday someone might find their hidden vault. They had left their treasure as bait, a trap for thieves and invaders. The pillar was not a source of magic. It was a security system designed to protect the vault from anyone who tried to steal from it. Deep beneath the chamber, ancient machines hummed to life. Energy cells that had waited for 3 centuries began to discharge. The ground started to shake. Cracks appeared in the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. Some goblins finally noticed that something was wrong. They tried to run, but the tunnel was already collapsing behind them. Rocks crashed down, blocking their escape. They were trapped inside the mountain with their stolen gold. Borgash screamed in rage and fear. He had wanted to be the richest goblin in the world. Now he was going to die in a hole full of shiny metal that meant nothing. He clutched his treasure to his chest as the ceiling came down on top of him. The mountain rumbled and groaned. From the outside, it looked like the entire peak was sinking into itself. Smoke and dust rose into the sky. Birds flew away in terror. Animals ran for their lives. When the shaking finally stopped, the old mine was gone. The entrance had been buried under thousands of tons of rock. The treasure chamber was crushed flat. Every goblin inside was dead, killed by their own greed. Miles away, in a small human settlement, an old man looked up at the distant mountain. He smiled sadly and shook his head. He knew what had happened. His ancestors had built that vault long ago, before the great wars forced humanity to retreat to small villages and hidden towns. The old man was a keeper of secrets. His family had passed down the story of the hidden vault for generations. They knew that the treasure was not just gold and jewels. It was a test, a way to judge the hearts of those who found it. The humans had learned many hard lessons over the centuries. They had seen how greed could destroy empires and tear families apart. They had watched mighty civilizations fall because leaders cared more about wealth than wisdom. And so they created the vault as a warning. Anyone who found the treasure and tried to share it fairly would have unlocked the true gift. The crystal pillar contained knowledge, the collected wisdom of human scientists and scholars from the Golden Age. It held the secrets of medicine, agriculture, and peaceful technology. It could have lifted the goblins out of their primitive existence and taught them how to build a better world. But the goblins did not share. They fought and killed each other over shiny coins that had no real value. They proved that their hearts were filled with darkness and selfishness. And so the vault destroyed them, just as the ancient humans had designed it to do. The old man turned away from the window and went back to his work. He was building a new vault, hidden in a different location. Someday, another group would find it. Maybe it would be goblins again. Maybe it would be dwarves or elves or some other species. Maybe it would even be humans who had forgotten the old lessons. He hoped that the next finders would be different. He hoped they would look at the treasure and see not something to hoard, but something to share. He hoped they would pass the test and unlock the wisdom that could change the world. But he was not optimistic. He had lived a long time and seen many things. He knew that greed was a disease that infected every species in every age. Only a few rare souls could resist its pull and choose generosity over selfishness. Back in the Thornback Caves, the remaining goblins waited for their warriors to return. Days passed with no sign of them. Weeks went by. Finally, a young goblin was sent to look for them. He searched for days but found nothing except a pile of fresh rocks where the old mine used to be. The young goblin did not understand what had happened. He thought maybe there had been an earthquake or a landslide. He never imagined that his tribe members had been destroyed by their own wicked hearts. He returned home and told the others what he had seen. The surviving goblins mourned for a while, but soon they forgot about Borgash and his warriors. Life went on. New leaders rose to power. New schemes were hatched. New treasures were sought. And somewhere in the mountains, the old man continued his work. He knew that humanity's greatest treasure was not gold or gems or even knowledge. It was the ability to learn from mistakes and grow into something better. It was the choice to share instead of hoard, to build instead of destroy, to love instead of hate. The goblins had failed the test, but humanity had passed it long ago, after many failures of their own. That was why they still survived, hidden in their small villages, keeping their secrets safe, waiting for the day when the world would be ready for the truth. The blue light was gone now, buried under stone. But its lesson remained for anyone wise enough to learn it. Greed consumes the wicked heart, but generosity opens the door to wonders beyond imagination. This was the secret of the hidden treasure. This was the wisdom of the humans who built it. And this was why humanity, despite all their struggles and setbacks, would one day rise again to lead the world into a new age of peace and prosperity. They had learned the hardest lesson of all. They had looked into the darkness of their own hearts and chosen to be better. The goblins never got that chance. Their bones rested beneath the mountain, surrounded by gold that could not save them and jewels that could not buy them one more breath of air. They had found the greatest treasure in the world and lost everything because they could not share it. That was the tragedy of greed. That was the price of a wicked heart. And that was the story that would never be told around goblin fires, because none of them survived to tell it.